Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Aidan.
I'm G.
I'm Sophie.
And today we've got another little reaction for you. Top 10 things only Americans do and think it's normal. Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
I think it's normal. No?
No?
Apart from carrying guns, they think it's normal.
And that's the big one, probably.
Or saying y'all. Anyway, yeah, we'll find out anyway. 10 things, top 10
I think
things.
maybe
only...
food portions, maybe.
Oh yeah, no, you're not
Yeah,
wrong.
Might be a good
Yeah.
one.
That's a shout.
I don't know.
Or the amount of like sugar you put in food.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say so.
If you don't like America, why don't you get out?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things Americans do that the rest of the world doesn't.
You're 15, right? Yeah, I gotta call your parents.
It's time. It's time.
Don't wait another minute for Claritin.
Do you do it every day?
Yeah.
For this list, we're going over the things that are more common in the United States of America than in most other countries. While some of them are present elsewhere, they're not quite as widespread as in the US. And no judgment. This is supposed to be a lighthearted list after all, so keep a sense of humor and know that it's all in good fun. If there's a particular Americanism that our list didn't cover, please do tell us in the comments.
Who's that?
Number 10. Refer to the USA as America.
It's South America as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Central America.
Yeah.
Everything from the top of Canada to the bottom of Argentina is America.
Yeah.
To the top of Canada.
Yeah, Canada's
Yeah,
Canada's
North
in North
America.
America.
Because when people say like the Americas,
That's
all
Everything.
of them.
that's everything on that side.
yeah. Everything Brazil, like, America.
So it's America. The
Even I
Americas
say
a
it, to be honest.
continent. The Americas.
Like there's North America and there's South America.
And they're continents.
Yeah.
Two separate ones,
Yeah.
right?
But
Yeah.
if you just refer to it as America, that's everything, like from
Yeah.
Canada down to Argentina and Chile and stuff, really.
So
But they
I
just-
would just say
But-
USA or the US.
Yeah, but I would also say, I reckon if anyone in the world said, I live in America, you'd think
You'd
the
think
USA.
the US.
You just immediately think
Yeah.
the USA.
Yeah,
Because if
I
you
would.
if you lived in North or South America outside of the USA, you would say, I live in
Probably
Brazil
the
or I
country.
live in Canada.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. See, the US, I didn't say that until I started working here. I'd
Really?
never, yeah, it's like more of a slang thing. I'd never said that before.
Right.
Yeah.
Outside of the United States of America, referring to the country as America is much less commonplace. After all, there are 2 entire continents called America, comprising like 35 distinct nations. Referring to only one country on one of those continents as America too is really confusing for anyone who doesn't live there.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
Calling it the US, USA, the United States, or just the States is much more common in the rest of the world. Even so, everyone still calls its residents Americans, which isn't confusing at all.
You can't say it, but you know it's true.
Number 9. Have pharmacies that sell groceries. In most of the world, pharmacies sell exactly what their name implies, pharmaceuticals.
We do, to be fair. You
Like
can go and buy a
Boots?
meal deal at Boots.
Yeah, Boots
which is a pharmacy.
Yeah,
And you
but
can buy sandwiches and
yeah,
crisps.
Yeah.
but that's
Meal
Boots. But if you go to
Like
a
Superdrug.
pharmacy,
If I go to
Lloyd's.
Superdrug, I
No.
could buy a chocolate bar.
no, it's not Superdrug. If you go to
Like a Lloyd's pharmacy.
well, I was going to give you an example of the one in Hale, but they have got makeup and stuff in there. But if you go to the pharmacy, normally you would walk in the door, you'd have probably 3 rows, and it might have like different medicines, and then there might be shampoos and
Yeah.
baby stuff, and then
Yeah.
the pharmacy. At
Some
the
like
back.
personal care
Yeah.
stuff.
We've
within
not
the
really had a
pharmacy.
chance to look at it, like how much groceries they're selling. If they've got like a vegetable aisle, then
No,
that'll
but
be a bit
I think they're
outraged.
referring to like Walmart, which you can do your whole shop there.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
Then like Tesco's and stuff, they have that like at most
If you go big
supermarkets
Tesco's, or if you
have-
go Asda, they've got George, which is a clothing brand.
Yeah, but these are supermarkets with a pharmacy in there. If
Mm.
you go to a pharmacy on the high street, it's normally just medicines and then a few things like baby wipes, baby shampoo
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess.
While you will see tangentially related items like grooming products or hygienic things like toothbrushes, pharmacies don't usually carry food or toys.
Yeah,
But in the
that's
US, that's much more common. The country is all about the all-in-one experience. Not only will dedicated grocery stores have pharmacies built in, but pharmacies will also carry groceries. Granted, the selection isn't always great, but if you're desperate for milk and the grocery store is closed or you just don't feel like crossing the street to get there, you can get some. While most of the world still limits drugstores to drugs and self-care products, we have a feeling this one might catch on. Number 8. Vote before they can drink.
Yeah.
Worldwide, the age at which a person can legally drink alcohol is...
Yeah, I've got a bit of a 21 is outrageous.
Well,
Yeah, it
let me
is.
tell you the reason why. They did, because you pass your drive, I think you start lessons when you're
16, 15, but you can
15,
drive when you're 16.
Yeah. And what they found was I think the legal limit, I think you had to be 18 to drink. And then they found that there was so many more drink drive accidents because of the size of the place. Nobody would get taxis anywhere. They would drive. So there were so many more young drivers that were being killed because they were under the influence of alcohol. That's why they put it up to 21.
Right, I didn't know that.
It's because they tested it and it just didn't
I reckon
work.
if you went to like a college party and everyone was 18, 19, they're probably drinking, aren't they?
That's the thing, most people...
They probably are. It's not that they're not drinking. It's not legal to drink. But because it's such a vast city, wherever you live in, there's no taxis. Like when we lived there, we would drive to the pub and drive back again.
Who drink driving?
No, because we had the children, so I would normally not drink anyway, but Dad. But most people don't get taxis there. It's different now.
It makes sense though, because like they say, like with like public transport and taxis, they're so much like better over here in the sense like because we're such a small country, we can easily like get from point A to point B. Whereas like because it's like you say, it's so vast.
Even if we were only going 2 miles down the road, we would have 2 drinks and then that would stop. But over there, they would maybe have 5 drinks because you can't get taxis. They have Uber there now. Like when we went to New York.
But if you go into like New York, you'll see loads of taxis, surely, like yellow cabs.
in the centre of New York.
Yeah.
But then also you can walk from bar to bar.
Yeah, I guess.
But in New Jersey where we lived, it was probably a mile, 2 miles to the pub.
Really?
So you would just have a couple of drinks and then drive home.
Yeah, but I would never live in America until I'm 21 just for that reason, to be honest.
Is most commonly 18, the age usually considered to be adulthood, though it is even earlier in some countries. The voting age on a global scale is also generally 18, for similar reasons, although of course there are exceptions.
The Voting Rights Act of 1970 lowered the voting age to 18 for national elections, and the 26th Amendment made the change to 18 permanent for all elections.
And 18 is where it has stayed for the past 50 years.
However, the United States requires young adults to wait 3 years after being able to vote before legally being allowed to drink at 21. This was enacted during the 1980s to prevent alcohol-related driving accidents.
This law has been an abysmal failure. It hasn't reduced or eliminated drinking. It has simply driven it underground, behind closed doors, into the most risky and least manageable of settings.
While it helped in the short term, ultimately it hasn't really stopped teenagers from drinking. The result is that many people, both inside and outside the US, question the logic of why an 18-year-old American can decide who forms the government but not get buzzed.
The reality is everyone drinks before they turn 21. That's why when you go out for your first legal drink, you have to react with that faux surprise like you've never heard of alcohol before. Ooh, what does this alcohol taste like? Oh, it's unusual. Oh, this is true.
Number 7, tip service personnel.
All right, everybody cough up some green for the little lady. Come on, throw in a buck.
I don't tip.
You don't tip?
No, I don't believe in it.
While the concept of tipping waitstaff or other people in the service industry is known worldwide, few countries have embraced the concept to the degree the US has.
Labor movements declare the practice undemocratic, and anti-tipping legislation was enacted across several states. But restaurants and rail operators like the Pullman Company embraced tipping because it allowed them, among other things, to hire recently freed slaves without having to pay them.
Many workers, particularly in the restaurant industry, rely on gratuities to get by, in part because laws allow managers to pay sub-minimum wages to tipped workers. However, in various other countries, tipping is seen as insulting. They're just doing their jobs after all.
Each year, Americans spend $40 billion on tips. That's more than we spend on foreign aid and more than we spend on gambling. And like gambling, it's not entirely clear that tipping makes any sense in the first place.
While some countries' workers certainly appreciate it, it isn't expected like it is in the US. Mostly because employees are paid a high enough baseline salary that they don't need tips to survive.
Restaurant owners still pay their servers less than minimum wage, turning what used to be a bribe into an obligation that makes the end of every meal suck.
Number 6, obsess over the military.
And I think I speak for the rest of the WWE. I certainly speak for myself. I would like to say thank you to all our men and women who choose to don the uniform of the United States military.
The American military is probably the best in the world, as it should be, since it's also one of the best funded militaries in the world. In fact, the US spends several times more on their military than their nearest competitor, China. What's more, there are more than a few American citizens who have a higher than average fascination with their own military and its culture.
I thank you as your commander-in-chief because you inspire me. Your willingness to serve, to step forward at a time of war and say, send me, is the reason the United States stays strong and free.
While other countries certainly appreciate their troops, you don't, see as many people wearing camouflage as a legitimate fashion statement. Likewise, you don't see movies made elsewhere that glorify the military to the degree that the US does.
Do me a favor. Tell my children I love them very much. All right, you alien assholes! In the words of my generation, up yours!
Part of the American enthusiasm is certainly rooted in patriotism. Still, it may also be a reaction to an increasingly anti-military sentiment that has popped up over the last several decades.
No war, okay? No war, okay? Oh, here you go, boys. These will help you protest. It's good to see that you care about peace, boys, okay?
Number 5, work too much. Americans are workaholics, at least compared to basically every other country in the world. The majority of Americans work more than 40 hours a week.
Why do we do this to ourselves? Well, the conventional answer is that this attitude towards work makes the American...
In the US, when you start a new job, you get, I think, it's 1 week's holiday a year.
Really?
Which goes up to 2. You get a lot more, I think you get a lot more public holidays.
Yeah, but actual
holidays.
Vacation.
Like, I remember when we lived there, for us, when you go on holiday, you go for 2 weeks. Normally, it would be 2 week holiday.
Yeah.
The Americans were like, no, because that's all our holiday, vacation time taken up.
So I wouldn't want to go on holiday for 2 weeks. I would get bored after a week.
As an adult, I've never been for 2 weeks. Always been, I think, 1 week maximum, but I'm like 5 days.
See, every year from being 17, I used to go on holiday for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and then as soon as I came back, I'd start saving up for the following year to go away for 2 weeks.
I would so much rather go on 2 1 week holidays in that year.
But it's more expensive to do it that way. If you go for 2 weeks, you're paying for 1 flight and the hotel. But if you do 2 1 week holidays, you're paying for 2 flights.
But I'd still rather it, to be honest. I would
So you can try new places.
after you're there for 12 days. You
It depends where you go. Like I used to love to just go and sit in the sun all day and crisp. And then I met Darren, and he was like, "What's in my pool? It's boiling.
It's boiling."
So that's when my life changed.
Yeah.
But no, it's mad that.
Now you go on weekends away.
Yeah. Now we can manage 2-3 days. And then he's like, right, let's go home.
Yeah.
No, it's mad that, because in general though, I just feel like the work ethic is probably slightly different in most of the countries. So obviously, say you go to Spain, they have siesta as well, where they have a bit of time off midday as well, and I love that. I think that's
sleep from 2 till 5.
Yeah.
Then go back to work.
So every country's different, but it's true.
American economy, the envy of the world. America is a hectic, turbocharged system that builds, destroys, rebuilds, all at warp speed.
They also tend to lack many of the things the rest of the world takes for granted, like paid holidays, as well as sick and parental leave. Research has shown that happier, less stressed workers do better at their jobs. Iceland even recently tried a 4-day work week that proved wildly successful.
There's lots of other...
Did that say 28 days?
Holiday.
Why do I only get 20?
You don't.
Is that because of...
It's including bank holidays.
Bank holidays.
Yeah, you get 28 days holiday.
benefits of 4-day work week. It's not just the environment, it's not just the mental health and economy, good for the economy. It's also environmental benefits too. Evidence looks like when we're commuting less as a result of a 4-day week, that brings down emissions. Also, energy consumption goes down. So this is a policy that's win-win for the environment, for workers, for employers. What's not to like about it?
Several European countries take long breaks for lunch. While the American drive is admirable, grind culture becomes problematic when it costs workers their mental health and well-being. Number 4, put sales tax on everything.
Sales tax is paid when you buy something, and the business you purchased your goods from sends that money to the government. There are 2 types of sales tax: general sales tax and excise taxes. General sales tax is a tax levied on most goods you buy. Excise taxes are taxes levied only on certain items.
Most countries enact a value-added tax, or VAT, on goods.
No wonder their government's so rich.
Yeah.
Every time you go to a supermarket, you have to pay tax.
But we pay tax on everything.
Yeah. No, I know, but it's different though, because you would just kind of pay it all in one. It wouldn't say
So with us, the tax is already included in the price.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Whereas over there, you might say something's $3, but it turns out $3, 50 something.
Yeah.
Because you're paying tax for it.
Yeah.
But I'd rather it just be like ours, and you just pay what price is on the ticket is what you pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you say I want to spend 30 quid today on some food shopping, how do you know how much you're going to pay at the end? Do you know what I mean? Because you can total it up, but then it won't actually be that. It would be plus 20% maybe.
Yeah.
So I'd get confused, me.
The thing is, in the States though, you do your own taxes at the end of the year. So if you overpay on your tax, you get that money back.
Whereas here we just...
Some people use it as a savings account. They overpay on their tax, on the salaries and things like that. And then at the end of the year, you have to fill in everything, and then you can get back up to, depending on how much you pay, $15,000. And then they use that as because you get a lot of write-offs for donations to charities and stuff like that.
Right.
The tax works totally different over there. Plus over here, we pay national insurance tax for the hospitals, whereas there they don't have the National Health Service, so they have to pay for that.
To be honest, I'd rather pay the national, our national insurance.
Yeah.
Goods or services purchased within their borders. These taxes are collected from every person in the supply chain, from the distributors to the consumers. The United States is one of the few to use sales tax, which not only vary wildly from state to state, but are only enacted after a purchase has been made.
The state treasury depends on sales taxes to pay for road repairs, education, and medical care for children, seniors, and the poor.
They're also not listed in the initial price, which can leave foreign visitors, and many Americans, scratching their head as to why they're being charged more than the price on the product. Better or worse? You decide. It's certainly more confusing.
What's the advice then? If you're going to buy a big ticket item, where's the cheapest sales tax?
Well, you can go online and look at all the sales tax rates for different cities, and if you look at one dealership or one, Best Buy or something like that, you can find the different zip codes and look at the sales tax rates and just see how much that'll take off, and then take your family out for a nice night.
There you go.
Number 3, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
In many parts of the United States, school children, and adults in some settings, are expected to recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
My bad.
So you won't remember it because you were too young, but Declan used to have to pledge allegiance to the flag every morning at school.
Really?
Yeah, and he knew it all the way through. But then when we moved to Texas, he had to pledge allegiance to the flag and then also to the Texas flag.
Oh.
Texas love their flag, don't they? You see it everywhere when you go to Texas.
Yeah.
Whereas over here, obviously we don't do anything, do we, like that?
No, and also we found that, especially in Texas, it was very, very religious. Everybody, all our neighbours, everybody went to church.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everybody goes to church, whereas
I've never been to a church in my life other than for school.
Yeah, you have, but you just probably don't remember.
How old was I?
We've been very young.
I must have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember going into any church.
Yeah, but all our friends went to church. Like on a Sunday morning, we'd be at the park and it'd be empty because everybody was at church.
That's good.
This is an expression that they will be loyal to the USA and is usually performed daily while looking at the nation's flag.
But back then, in 1892, when it was written by Francis Bellamy, Bellamy was a Baptist minister, and in conjunction with a magazine called The Youth's Companion, he wrote this, at that time, 23-word Pledge of Allegiance.
Citizens of other countries might respect or salute their flag and country, but a daily affirmation? Not in most places. The Pledge of Allegiance has been the subject of controversy and criticism, both from outside the US and from within. Some see it as indoctrination. Others find its mentions of God problematic, and still others think it was simply written to sell merch. Whatever the case, it is not a common thing in the rest of the world.
But the bottom line is, we all look different, sound different, but we are all on the same team.
Number 2, go bankrupt from healthcare. Medical costs are the cause of over 60% of all bankruptcies in the United States.
In 2017, 1/3 of the money raised on GoFundMe went towards medical campaigns. And the site raises $650 million a year for more than 250,000 medical campaigns.
Americans experience a variety of unexpected charges while getting much-needed care, from surprise bills to being charged for riding in an ambulance.
According to one study, 71% of all ambulance providers do not take the patient's insurance. That same study found that 79% of patients who took an ambulance could get a surprise bill, with an average total around $450.
In some parts of the civilized world, even seeing a medical bill can be an uncommon occurrence. Healthcare worldwide tends to be much more regulated than it is in the US.
So if you have to go to like a hospital or something and the bills, you can't pay for the bill, it's too expensive, what, do they just let you die?
I don't think they would let you die, but
They would do it and then you'd have to pay back constantly for the rest of your life.
yeah. So when I went into the hospital with Declan to have Declan, I'd already made the decision that I wasn't going to have any drugs anyway. So I knew that I wasn't going to have an epidural. I was just going to do it all naturally. But when I got my bill at the end, it was $13,500, and that was 23 years ago.
For what if you're not paying for like the drugs and stuff?
That was for the doctor, for the hospital,
for the room.
But I had medical insurance, so I then sent that bill to my insurance company, and they paid it. And I think we had a co-pay of about $1,000, but you still have to pay.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's either funded through taxes in a single-payer system or else through individual insurers who are more strictly monitored.
Other countries, they don't have this problem. Instead of every private insurance company negotiating with every healthcare provider, there's just this big list. Country, the central government, they go and they say, if you want to sell to us, to all of our people, then here's what you can charge for a checkup. Here's what you can charge for an MRI or a prescription for Lipitor.
Bottom line, while there can sometimes be extra charges, for most of the world, medical debt is basically unheard of, except in horror stories about the US.
Can't get a credit card. I can't buy a house. I don't see me ever being out of debt.
Before we get to our top pick, here are some honorable mentions. Free refills. Restaurants will fill up glasses with even more...
I wish. That's great. Do you reckon the drinks are more expensive though?
No.
No, it's the
No,
same
no,
price.
It's a lot cheaper over there.
Like if you go into like a restaurant.
Obviously, you can go to some places here that would do free refills, mainly
Same
like
with
the
Five
American
Guys.
places. Yeah,
We
like
went to
Five
Five
Guys,
Guys,
we
they
get
do.
free refills. But the drink's more expensive because you can refill it.
But do you think it's because people take advantage? Because
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
used to it. People, like when I went to Five Guys, I had my Diet Coke, but I didn't get a refill because
No.
I didn't want one.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody like you would go, well, it's free, so I'm getting one anyway.
Yeah, so I'll take the cup with me outside.
Yeah, and that's probably why, because from an early age, they're used to it. So it's like when you go for breakfast, it's like really big to go for breakfast in the US. And they come round and you order a coffee and they have like this big silver coffee thing, and they just come round and they just walk past the table and they don't say don't fill it up, they just fill you up as they go around.
Really?
Yeah. So you end up having about 16 cups of coffee at breakfast.
Was it?
Drinks for free and with lots of ice? Throw baby showers. Many cultures see them as bad luck or in poor taste.
Bad luck?
Wear shoes indoors. Sure, not every American does this, but it's still considered weird in a lot of countries.
Depends where indoors you are, I guess. Because if we're in the office, I'm not going to take my shoes off, am I? That's indoors.
No.
Or if we're in a shopping centre, I'm not going to take my shoes off.
No, they're referring to
Your house.
houses.
Your house.
Like, so for instance, if some, like, your friends know they've come to our house, take your shoes off.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
take the shoes off.
But that's just something because you've said, oh, can you just take your shoes off? And they go, yeah.
I wouldn't even. I think it's just a well-known thing
Yeah,
for
you
everyone
take
in
your shoes off.
in England to take your shoes off
Yeah.
as a mark of respect when
Yeah,
you go
yeah,
to someone's
yeah,
house.
I don't see. As a child, I never took my shoes off in my house or in anybody else's house.
Sometimes when I go home, I'll keep my shoes on for a
Yeah.
bit, and then it'll 5 minutes later be like, take your shoes off.
Yeah, I know, because I don't want the rug getting dirty.
Mm.
But I remember somebody coming to fix the washing machine, and the first thing he did was take his shoes off at the door and walk in, and I was like, what's he doing?
Yeah.
Like it just wasn't the norm for me to see somebody without the shoes on, but
Yeah.
they all do it there.
Maybe that's just the American in me.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Advertise drugs to consumers. Pharmaceutical companies' clout allows this, annoying basically everyone but them.
These ads are legal in most countries, but in the US, they're everywhere. On average, 80 of them air every hour on American television.
Ask your doctor.
Ask your doctor.
My doctor told me. Use red plastic cups for alcohol. Who decided on these for every American party?
I'm starting to feel like that's just the movies.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
is
mean?
it real life or not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's always the red cups. You get them over here a lot as well.
Yeah.
If you were to go and like, oh, can you go get some plastic cups? You'd get them.
Yeah,
Probably.
I always get them, like, and I've played beer pong before with the red plastic cups.
Yeah,
'cause
I
it's,
have as well.
you
It's
know,
always the
fun.
plastic cups if we get
I
them.
hate drinking alcohol out of a plastic cup.
I think it changes the
Wow.
taste a little bit.
Oh mate, it's the same.
In a
Like,
way, though,
I prefer
I
drinking
like it.
beer out of a bottle than out of a glass, by far.
Mm.
It just tastes better.
Yeah.
And it goes down easy.
Even a can, I prefer to drink out of a can of Coke and
Nah.
put it into a glass.
No.
But then there's people who say you shouldn't drink out of the can or out of a bottle because when it's stored, like the rats crawl all over them and get feces.
Yeah, as long as the rats aren't
Nice.
still there, I'll drink it. I don't care.
Come on, dude, right here. Yeah!
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Use the imperial measurement system.
Can you explain to me
Yes.
how the country that can send men and hopefully women to the moon
Yeah, all and
still
beyond.
are in gallons and inches?
Mm.
And when the entire world is metric, I do not understand this.
There are 3 countries in the world that don't use the metric system: Myanmar, Liberia, and the United States. Objectively, metric is the less arbitrary measurement system since everything goes by tens. Even Britain and Commonwealth countries have converted.
The point is, the US system has always been a little more accessible than metric. Sure, stacking up 12 thumb widths to make a foot, that's still kind of weird, but it's not so weird that we're clamoring to change it.
Although admittedly, they do still use measurements like feet and inches casually.
So now I can't ask a distance when I visit another country. I'm like, how far is that? They're like, that's 500 kilometers. I'm not in the Olympics.
So why hasn't the US converted? We'll give you one guess. Did you say it's because of money? Because money is definitely a big factor. Converting to a whole new system of measurement is expensive. Other factors include a need for control and stability of the US. So, inertia, basically. Why change when you don't need to? And you know what your mom says? If all the other countries jumped off a bridge, would the US do it too? Or something like that.
A 2015 Rasmussen poll asked Americans if we should switch to the metric system and adopt Celsius as our main temperature scale. 64% said no, while 21% said yes, and the remaining 15% was undecided. So
That's just because they're too used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want. I wouldn't want to like
Change
to Fahrenheit because I wouldn't really understand it like that.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
And I still use Fahrenheit.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Like, if you told me your temperature in Fahrenheit, I'd have no idea.
No, same.
So I know that 100 degrees Fahrenheit is hot, but that's probably about 30
That sounds very hot to me. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
30 odd degrees
Sounds
is
like it'd be burning.
Scorching to
So
us.
100 degrees Fahrenheit. I remember as a child, we wanted the summer to be like 75, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is probably like, what, 20...
It just makes so much...
27,
Celsius just
28?
makes so much more sense.
So did it...
Zero is... Do you know what I mean? Like, zero's the mark, and if you go below zero, it's freezing.
Cold,
It's,
yeah.
and if you go
above
zero,
it, it's... Yeah.
it just makes more sense.
Yeah.
No, it does to me.
I
So did we used to be, over here, did we used to be
Fahrenheit.
imperial?
Yeah.
And then now we're in the metric system.
Because even like when,
See, that
like when
confuses
you
me.
were born, you were £8.4. But if over here, if I said to somebody, what weight was the baby, they'd be like, oh, 3.8 kilos. I'm like, what's that? Just give me pounds and ounces.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on your age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like we're perfectly fine with being different.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Watch Mojo. And be sure to...
Interesting, yeah?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Americans watching at home think, like, if they would have known that, to be honest, like they were one of the only countries left that don't use the metric system.
Yeah. And also the tipping, like...
Yeah, the tipping I find probably the most, like, culturally different.
But the UK love it when Americans come to visit because they tip.
They tip well, yeah. Whereas over here we don't really tip much.
Yeah.
You still do, you still would sometimes. But that's only like, you wouldn't just tip because you do it all the time. I would only tip someone if it was actually really good service.
So if somebody came to deliver you a pizza to the house, would you tip them?
No.
And over there, they expect it.
But I have been delivered, it wasn't pizza, it was like an Uber Eats.
Yeah.
But he was like a really nice guy, so I tipped him on my phone after I've gone upstairs.
Say I tip on my phone
you can do
afterwards.
that now. Yeah. But even still, like, I wouldn't just tip anybody. They'd have to I'd have to be like, oh,
There'd have to be a reason. If they just come and give me the pizza and say nice one,
yeah,
I'm not going to be like, yeah, you deserve a tip for that.
I tip everybody just because.
Usually what you're used to. And,
yeah. I mean, like sometimes when I tip my hairdresser, she kind of goes, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? Go, no.
no, I'll think about it. I'll be fine.
Come to my senses, yeah.
Good karma as well. You know, if you give something out to the universe, it'll bring it back to you.
Yes.
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video and make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.